almost like I had a death wish, the amount of pills and alcohol I was putting in my body on a daily basis at that time. And so then I started coming back to Santa Barbara. I was partying, I was chasing girls, I was back in the lifestyle. I was 23 and I just felt invincible. And I was so broken inside though. I didn't want anyone to see it. I'd put on a front, but deep down inside, I was just a mess. And then I ended up at a party one night, a party with a friend where we knew not one person when we showed up. And after about an hour or so, a couple individuals showed up that we knew through mutual acquaintances, and we were all talking and drinking. And then there was a fight between two groups of guys that I had no part even being involved in. I didn't know any of the guys. I didn't know what the dispute was about. I was just there watching. I was, right there when it all took place.
Nothing to do with it.
No, as the fight broke out, I got sucked into it. I got tackled from the side, and I thought that I was being jumped by one of the groups of guys that for some reason thought I was, on the other side, or that I was somebody.
No, you're on drugs. Everybody's messed up.
I'm wrestling around with them, and I'm expecting to start getting kicked and punched, but nothing happened. I just had somebody on top of me that I couldn't get off. Finally, I rolled him over, and I threw a couple punches towards him because I thought that he was attacking me. And when I stood up, he didn't get up. And I thought that was so weird because I didn't even hit him. My punches kind of just grazed the side of his head, in this melee. It's like a wrestling match and a free-for-all. And so as soon as I stand up, I hear the friend that I went to the party with. His name's Eddie. He's yelling, "Sean, let's go. Let's get out of here. Come on." And girls are screaming. People are coming out of the party and seeing what's going on. And as I walk over to him, I get under the street lamp, and I'm just covered in blood from head to toe. Blood's dripping off of me. I'm thinking, what the hell? And he looks at me, and his eyes get all big. He's like, "Sean, what the hell, man? You're covered in blood." And he starts running up the street. He's like, "Let's get out of here. Come on." So I start following him, and I'm limping up the street because when I got tackled, I hurt my back and my leg. And you hear sirens come. The cops are coming, and I'm limping up the street. And he waves me into an open door. There's a laundromat. There's some apartment complex there, and up the street. And I go in, and he throws me a new shirt that he found from the dryer. He's like, "Take that shirt off. You can't walk around like that. You're covered in blood." So I put the shirt on. And as I'm doing that, we're in the laundry room. You just see cops racing by on the street. And we ended up walking out of the laundry room. And earlier he had called a cab because he knew we were getting ready to leave the party anyway. And we got in the cab and we left. And we got to his house, and I was so intoxicated, I just passed out. I just passed out. And I'll never forget that feeling in the morning when I woke up, like a nightmare, where you wake up and you're so relieved to be awake and that it was a dream. Well, mine was the opposite. I woke up and I said, "Oh my gosh, what happened last night?" And I Googled fight at the Mesa. That's where in Santa Barbara, there's an area known as the Mesa. That's where we're at. And it said 2 men were stabbed in a party on the Mesa, and one of them's in critical condition. And right then and there, I knew something bad had happened. I knew they were going to come question me, and I knew that it was a serious matter.
Wow, man. Wow. So who stabbed the guys? What happened? Can we come forward, man? So you were not involved in this, and things happen. People start throwing swings. Maybe you get a swing, and you're just trying to defend yourself naturally. That's what you naturally have to do. And some guy lands on you, and he was one of the guys that died. He was one of the dead. He didn't make it.
So that individual was stabbed, and when he fell on me or when he was on me, I don't know when he got stabbed, but that's why I was covered in blood. I started trying to make sense of everything. And I thought the cops were going to come question me and ask me what happened and try to get me to maybe tell on someone or, pressure me for information. But I had no idea that they were looking at me as the main suspect. And so later that day, the cops came and raided my friend's house and arrested us at me at gunpoint with their AR-15s and the dogs and everything. And they charged me with attempted murder. They said the individual was in a coma. He's probably going to die, so we're going to charge you with homicide. But right now, we're charging you with attempted murder. And I'll never forget the first day I went to court a week later. My lawyer comes up to me, the first time I spoke to my lawyer, and all she said to me was, "Hey, brace yourself. They're talking up there, with the judge and the DA about amending your charges to homicide. They don't think the victim's going to make it. So I want you to be ready for that." And that was the first thing I heard. It was surreal. I couldn't even believe what was taking place, that this is what my life had come to.
How old were you? 24, 23?
23.
23. Wow. You're 23 years old. Wow. And you're facing a homicide charge.
Yeah, 23, facing the rest of my life in prison for something I didn't even do. And I assumed that over time the truth would come out. People at the party saw that I didn't do it. I assumed that they were going to let me go, but that didn't happen. And every time I would go back to court, they kept talking about how, the witnesses were saying they saw me fighting with the guy, that I had blood on my shirt. They found a blood-covered shirt up the street. I fled the scene, all these things, and it painted such a horrible picture, rather than knowing the truth that I was just this scared kid that got caught in this fight, and I ran because I was scared. They looked at me as somebody who assaulted another person, almost killed him, and then fled the scene. And so they were trying to send me to prison for a long time. Finally, the DA came to my lawyer and said, hey, we'll amend the charges and drop them to assault with a deadly weapon if he pleads guilty. So my lawyer came to see me, and by this time I'd been in the county jail for about 6 months, and he said, hey man, you're going to prison. I just want you to understand, you're going to prison. It's just a matter of how much time. And at that point, I was still in denial, hoping that I could get out. I hadn't accepted it yet. And he said, they're willing to drop your charges and send you to prison for 7 years for assault with a deadly weapon. You're 23. You'll probably do 5 or 6 years. You'll get out before you're 30. He said, that's the best we could do. He said, you could still live a good life. You're going to be a young man. And at that point, I felt in my heart that was the only thing I could do. I felt like if I went to trial and the DA and the cops presented their case, that I was going to be found guilty. Because in most court systems throughout the state, throughout the country, no one wins in trial. I mean, my DA, my district attorney's conviction rate was in the 90 percentile. It was something like 98%, 99%. And just the fact that I had so much potential time that I would do if I was found guilty, I made the choice to plead guilty to a crime I didn't commit and go to prison. And that's what I did.
Wow. So you had to either take your chances and let them fulfill this narrative, or just take the blame and get this smaller chunk of time that's still the rest of your 20s.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so you do that, and so what was the final verdict?
Yeah. So I took the plea deal. I went into court and admitted guilt for something I didn't do. And at that time, I was already going through this massive transformation. When I first got arrested, I was in shock and disbelief. But after a couple months, I was sober. I was stuck in this isolation cell all day with no distractions, no phone or TV. And I was just soul searching, man. I was trying to make sense of how I had ended up there. Where did I go wrong in life? This isn't the person I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be, going to college, playing Major League Baseball, living a great life. I just felt deep down inside that I was made for so much more. And I'll never forget, in that cell is when I made the choice that I was going to change my life. And I just made an internal commitment that no matter how much time I do in prison, no matter where I go in life, I'm always going to be my best self. I'm never going to deviate from the truth and who I really am ever again, because I had for so long. And I didn't feel guilty being in that cell for the crime or what they were trying to accuse me of, because I was innocent. But I felt immensely guilty for the way I lived my life and for how I had just coasted through life and hung out with those kids that I wasn't really a part of that group. That's not who I was, or how I had just, not tried in high school and just let all these precious moments pass me by. And from that moment forward, every day I looked at as an opportunity for redemption. No matter what I could do, I would start doing it to the best of my ability. And that started with simple things in that cell, just to try to keep my mind occupied and block out the negativity or the potential of a life sentence. I'd get up early and I'd focus on gratitude. I'd focus on constructive actions like reading, writing, exercise. And I just started doing that stuff every day, refusing to quit and give up or allow that situation to crush me. And I realized I could either be a victim this whole time in prison of poor me, of why this happened to me, of why didn't the cops tell the truth? Why did the judge not believe me? And just be caught up in that mentality, or I could fight to become a better person and use that experience as an opportunity versus a detriment to who I was becoming. And that's the mindset I had going into it. So by the time I took that plea deal, I was already a man on a mission. You know, I had already transformed immensely in those 6 months to the point where people would come and visit me in the county jail, and they knew all this time I was about to do in prison. They knew what I was going through, and they'd look at me almost in disbelief, like, man, you know, you're locked up, but you look happier than you ever have. You know, my Uncle Mike said, this is the happiest I've ever seen you. You remind me of when you were a little kid. He's like, you're back. You're back. And that was the best feeling in the world when he looked me in the eye and said, you're back. Because throughout my adolescence, he and I had grown apart, you know, and I had drifted down this really dark path, and I was just so lost. And for him to say that, I knew that I was on to something life-changing. I discovered that person within me that I was meant to be my entire life.